Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me today for my Mathematics Mastery and eedi webinar. I know it's after school time and it's very warm now and you're getting towards the end of the second week, so thank you again for joining me. Just a quick tour around this platform. Towards the right hand side you can see a questions tab. You can ask me any questions at all during this, but I won't be able to get back to you until the end because it is just me. So my name's Iris. I run the school's delivery for Mathematics Mastery and I can support all of you in getting set up. So what I'm aiming to cover today is one, the concept of diagnostic questions, and hopefully some of you know a little bit about them already. And the second thing I want to show you is how to get set up. And lastly, discover how to use the platform. So I'll be showcasing some of our features. Okay, so let's jump in. And so what about diagnostic questions? And this is the concept that we're totally built on. I might add actually, towards the end of this webinar, I'll be sending you some articles and support on how to get set up. So you will be able to access those straight away. So maybe just towards the end, you might want to hold off and see if those are very useful to you. Okay, so diagnostic questions. Now, they're not just multiple choice questions. The idea behind them is each incorrect answer uncovers a specific misconception for the students. And actually, we write those misconceptions. So we've partnered with Mathematics Mastery and we've written the misconceptions behind each of the incorrect answers to really help you understand a little bit more about that and not have to spend a long time thinking about them. So what I'm going to show you now is a bit about the misconception data, talk about students' explanations and how they complete questions, and also misconceptions over time. So I'm actually looking at different age groups for misconceptions. Okay, so here's an example of a question. Just take a minute to have a think about this question. Of course, identify the correct answer, but also have a think about each of the incorrect answers. Where do you think your students are most likely to go wrong? And of course, I'm going to show you the data behind this question, and thousands of students have completed this. And they've actually completed it of all ages, even though this is a GCSE foundation question. We've had primary school students and secondary school students completing this question. So I'll just give you a couple of minutes, have a think about that, and we'll be able to dig into the misconceptions and of course the data behind that as well. Okay, so let's start to have a little look at some data. If you do have any problems with sound at all, it may be worth joining in on your phone. I know there's a couple of people where schools might be blocked, so just to let anybody know if it is a little bit glitchy, you may want to join in on your phone. Okay, so having a look here about the misconceptions behind each of the incorrect answers. So some of them that are really interesting actually is, for example, if you look at option C, this is actually a literacy error where they have put the order in ascending order, not descending. So again, we're looking at a specific misconception there. Again, some of them are really looking at maybe almost ignoring those negative signs. So again, a slightly different intervention, not a literacy intervention, but you're looking at maybe introducing a number line back in and going through the example in a bit more detail using that. So then looking at this data, now, interestingly, okay, 58%, oh, so it's not too bad, over half, but actually when you start to think about this question, over 40% of the class are getting that wrong, which is, of course, quite a substantial part. You may have 10 students in the class exposing a misconception for this question. And what we really try to say is actually, especially looking at that 19% and that 17%, how can we resolve those misconceptions? What tools do you need to do and what short intervention can you do with your class? So I hope that's helped in kind of understanding a little bit about what diagnostic questions are on our platform. So what I want to show you now is actually students' explanations. So when a child completes a question, we don't just rely on them choosing option, A, B, C, or D, and one of them being correct, because we really want to understand a little bit more about their thought process. And what's also important to note here is about a grade in the GCSE exams are given to explaining your answer. That doesn't necessarily mean writing down a formulae. That's often around writing down your thought process in proving something or not proving something, or is he right or wrong? We're often asked to explain that, and students really struggle with that. So what we ask is every time a child says, okay, I want to choose this option, we also get them to explain their answer. In addition to, of course, the difficulty in explaining, it also allows the students to reflect on the choice they've made. And sometimes they might want to adjust their answer as well, because they've had that thought process, they've written down their answer, and it really helps them spend a bit more time saying, have I definitely got that right? Do I want to change my answer at all? So looking at this option A, this child has written, I think this is because the list begins with the positive numbers and descends into the negative numbers. Okay, so here you can see that they've not grasped the ordering for negative numbers. Okay, so they're just they know exactly what descending means, but it's the ordering of the negatives. So they've started with the greatest number, but of course that's the smallest negative. So again, a specific misconception, particularly with a number line for this one, absolutely would work really well. So let's have a look at then the most popular misconception. Again, this is the one where we mentioned the literacy error. I think this is right because it's descending, which means you start with the smaller number. Again, a set misconception, a really short intervention, and maybe that reminder every 6 weeks about those literacies and not just kind of leaving it blank, and making sure that we capture this straight away. Of course, listing negative numbers is something students learn in primary school and goes all the way through until their A-levels, but really definitely their GCSEs, of course, because that's what at least all students will get to. So it's so important to say, can we nip this in the bud a bit earlier? And that's why I want to show you the data behind this. I know we've, of course, gone through the overview of the data, but what's really interesting here is the misconceptions really don't change over time. The improvement from 11 years old to 16-year-old is very minimal. But what's also really important is A and C consistently say is a very high percentage of misconceptions that could be resolved much earlier. Can we focus slightly more on negative numbers, maybe introducing it and make sure students aren't exposed to misconceptions over time and trying to resolve that earlier, because you can't just kind of move on the following year if students haven't got this misconceptions resolved, because that's going to carry on through with them. And you can see that in our breakdown of data. And we've got all of this data, and we can actually share this with you as well. So once you're set up on eedi, you will get to see the common misconceptions behind each of the questions. And I'm going to show you that in just a second. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about our partnership now. So as you know, we've been working with Mathematics Mastery to produce these formative assessments based on each topic unit that you're teaching for your Year 7s and your Year 10s as well. So how does that work? Well, we've produced a scheme of work on eedi. So what basically happens is in each topic unit, so let's say, for example, you're teaching powers and roots, we have 2 quizzes embedded into that. One quiz goes straight after you finish teaching that topic. So have the students got any misconceptions from straight after they've learned something? And we're going to hope they're going to be able to recall a lot of that information that they've been taught in class. But this more interesting quiz actually comes out again automatically 3 weeks later. Have the students retained that information, or perhaps expose different misconceptions that weren't there before? So these quizzes are automated, and they've both been created in partnership with Mathematics Mastery. So Craig Barton and the Mathematics Mastery team have been working really hard together to produce this, and it's perfectly aligned to the Mathematics Mastery Year 7 curriculum, and that's the brand new content. And we've also done the Year 10 as well, based off the eedi scheme of work. So now I'm going to talk to you about kind of actually really the setup and what you can do to get started. So the first thing is adding a scheme of work. And whilst we're actually talking through this, I'm going to send an article at the top of your screen, so a little document that you can just click on just to save that for yourselves now. And this is going to be around the scheme of work section. So bear with me a second. I'm just going to pop that out. Okay, so you can now see a scheme document sent to the top of the screen. You can click on that. Again, I just said save that link because I don't want you to have to write too many notes for today. So you can click on that link to help you get set up a little bit later. And of course, carry on looking at what I'm doing around setting the scheme of work up. So first of all, you can click on add a scheme. And what that does is allows you to choose from our long list of schemes. Now, mathematics masteries will be in the kind of second and third sections, so you might have to scroll down a little bit because they're in the Key Stage 3 and the GCSE sections. You will see they'll say mathematics mastery in them, so it's very clearly stated exactly which schemes of work they are. For year 10s, we've got the foundation and the higher, and for the year 7, we've just got their bespoke mathematics mastery scheme of work. As I mentioned, brand new content this year. Once you've added the scheme of work, the great news for you is you don't have to do any adjusting because it's already actually created in the order. But let's say, for example, for your GCSEs, you really needed to cover a certain topic that you might have missed last year or recap on something. So what you can basically do is you can adjust the topic units a little bit and perhaps insert a topic before you start if you needed to. But the thing I think is going to be most useful for everybody here is around adjusting the number of days the students have to complete the quizzes. So you can adjust it from 3 to 7 days, so you can increase that. I think it's set for 5 for mathematics mastery, but you can, of course, adjust it. The other thing that I think is really valuable is extending topic units. Let's say, for example, you overrun on a certain topic unit and you need an extra half week. You can drag and extend the length of a topic unit and all the other topic units in there shift on as well. So you do have that flexibility. And this is around kind of your core functionality of the scheme. You can adjust each quiz individually, and I'll show you that in just a second. The last thing you've got to do once you're happy with the length is assign the scheme of work and choose your class. Again, it should be pretty straightforward. You have had the hard work done for you, so you can go ahead and assign that scheme because it's, of course, created for mathematics mastery. If anybody here is not mathematics mastery, you can, of course, partner with them as well, or you can use one of our other schemes and kind of create your own if you'd like to. Okay, so assign the scheme. Now, what do you get once you've assigned the scheme? So you may have adjusted the scheme a little bit, spent 15 minutes on that. Hopefully, it should be really straightforward and you're done. So what are the things that you get? So clear visibility on quizzes. So once it's assigned to your class on your dashboard, you can see all of the quizzes, when they're going out, when they're due, if they're coming, and if they're done. And of course, when they're done, you can see your results as well, which I'll show you shortly. Okay, what is editing quiz dates though? Because you can extend topic units and that moves all of the quizzes on, so you're running behind or ahead of schedule. But what if you want to adjust one quiz? So let's say, for example, your quiz goes out on the day and it coincides a sports day and you want to adjust those quiz dates. You can edit them here and you're adjusting one quiz at a time. I really recommend this if you, as I mentioned, just need to adjust 1 or 2. If you need to adjust all of them because you've run behind schedule, adjust that in your scheme section. We've got lots of guides to support and help you as well on knowing how to adjust dates, things like that. I don't expect you to take it all in now. I know it's quite a lot of information. All right, so we've done editing quiz dates, but this is kind of where things get a bit more exciting, and these are the things that I absolutely love. So planning for error is one of the most fantastic features that we have on our platform. So what this allows you to do is look at the questions we've got on our platform to say, if you're doing GCSEs and the next thing you're teaching is angles on parallel lines, it's similar in the example that I've shown you on my screen. What you can basically do is say, okay, I'm teaching that next. Then it pulls through all our data, and you can see in these examples, thousands of students worth of data for these questions. And you can see what are the common misconceptions. Not only do we show you the spread for each choice, we also give you the misconception explanation behind each of those choices. So you don't have to spend ages thinking about it. You can have a quick look at that and say, okay, how can I make sure my lesson plan accommodates for those misconceptions? And you're walking into that lesson already knowing where students are likely to go wrong. So that's really valuable, and that's before your students have even logged in, before they've even completed a quiz. Of course, as soon as students have completed quizzes, you get that in the recent tab, which is where students have completed quizzes recently. And then over time, you get the weakest topics going into the weakest tab. So you constantly be able to see what are the common misconceptions of the nation and of course of my class as well. And you've got that all instantly. So as soon as you assign your scheme of work, that's all ready to go for you. Okay, so what else have we got? Let's have a little look. So we've got our feedback section. So once you've assigned your scheme of work and you've got students completing your quizzes, you can actually save a lot of time by giving feedback through our platform. You can see the misconceptions the students have. You can group the students by that misconception, and you can give them feedback and a follow-up question through our platform. What this allows you to do in comparison to paper feedback is, of course, you can actually see when students have attempted the question, which is kind of given, but you can also see when students have read that explanation and that support you've given them. So you may want to give positive feedback, but not get them to do another question, of course. And you can see when they've read that feedback, and that can help with growth mindset and support for those students as well. Okay, the last feature I'm going to show you on the teacher side is analytics. So I've spoken to you about this quiz that goes out when you finish a topic unit, and another one that goes out 3 weeks later. So we're checking for retention, what's going on, are the students retaining that information or exposing different misconceptions over time. So let's have a think now. Well, we could display that to you in this analysis page. So we can show you the quiz A versus the quiz B. And you can see if the quiz B is, regularly lower, what's happening is the students are exposing different misconceptions, and you can see each student's results a little bit further down on the analysis page. But what's really interesting as well, if you do give feedback regularly, perhaps from the worst 3 answered questions, we do actually see some scores on the rise as well. So it does depend on, of course, the support and intervention you give perhaps on feedback in the middle, but really we are interested to say, are they exposing different misconceptions as well? So you do have that with the analysis page. This really, comes to life in month 2 once you start getting those quiz Bs coming in. So for the first month, you just get the kind of quiz A line, and it really does come up over time. Okay, I'm briefly going to talk through now some of the benefits for students. You may have obviously heard some around the feedback, that kind of thing, but I can show you what else we do for students. So one of the key things for me is students instantly get results. So as soon as they've completed a quiz, they can see their misconceptions, they can see the answer for the correct choice as well, so written answer. And this can really help them kind of quickly say, look at those misconceptions. Are they going to work a little bit harder? Can they learn from their misconception as well there? We also give students the opportunity to reattempt questions in their improve section. So all of the questions they get incorrect pile up in their misconception bank, and they can go in and they can try and improve on any of those questions. Something else is if they have overdue quizzes, they stay there. It's not like after the pass date, they go away. So they're always able to go to their upcoming tab if they're set, their overdue tab if they didn't complete them, and their pass tab if they want to review any historic quizzes. Which leads me nicely on to accessibility. We have a mobile app called eedi, and it is fantastic for students because they get notifications and they can see all of that information and get live notifications about their homework. They can also complete quizzes on their computer or in school, whatever works best for you. I just want to say thank you for all the questions coming in. I will go on to them in the next 5 minutes. I'm nearly done. I'll be able to support you with all your questions. Okay, so the last thing I really wanted to talk through today was parents. So for parents, we've worked with the Behavioural Insights team to create research-backed actions. So what these are small daily actions that parents can complete. And it's not about the parent knowing the child's maths knowledge. It's really about building that positive habit with their child. So a small action each day to help support and support the child generally in their well-being and in their maths education. As I mentioned, the parents do not need to know the maths. It's really about giving them that support from home. Because of course, you've got the school environment and the home environment, which impact students the most on their education. And it's such a big disconnect between often parents and mathematics. So we're really trying to bring that together. We're actually working with Nesta on a research project to help impact parental engagement within schools as well. So just while I go through the last bit, which is really on support, I'm going to send you another document now, and this is around getting your classes set up. So you'll see this coming up now towards the top of your screen. So this is around kind of getting set up. So I'll leave that one there again for a couple of minutes. So you need to think about your classes if you haven't got them set up already. There's a couple of ways you can do this. The bottom one, manually adding students. I'm going to be really honest, if you're launching to a whole year group, it's not fun to do. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can. Especially if you get 1 or 2 people come in late, you may want to add them manually, but I really recommend either connecting your school's MIS. This does have a cost associated to it because it costs us money. It's not, we are just passing that cost on, but we are doing a reduced cost for mathematics mastery because, of course, in year 7, there can be quite a lot of class changes. And what it does is it imports all your classes, all your teachers, and all your students, and it updates the classes automatically based off your MIS, for example, SIMS. So it's £60 for mathematics mastery schools. It's normally £100. So it really is a reduced cost to help support you. The other option is importing via Excel. So you can give us a list of students and their classes, and if you want to choose their username, you can do that, and we can help you and import those onto our system. That does mean you have to manually move students around. Now, the document that I've just sent at the top of the screen contains all the information to help you get that all set up. So this is all around classes. The last thing then is support from us. Now, we do webinars. We generally host around a webinar a week during term time, and over the next couple of weeks, it will slow down to every couple of weeks to support you. Now, you may find other webinars useful as well. For example, we do sometimes parent webinars or webinars with Craig and I, and these are kind of the About eedi generic ones we do together. So feel free to look onto other ones as well. We do cover quite a lot of the same content, but we go through maybe more in depth into certain features or more in depth into certain setup phases. So this was kind of an overview for mathematics mastery. We've got our live chat. So when you log into eedi.co.uk, you can log in, and towards the bottom right-hand side, there's a live chat. There's myself, Iris, Rebecca as well. She's on there constantly, and my colleague Leke. So we're always here to help you. If you find in school you don't have the live chat enabled, you can ask your IT administrator to unblock it. Alternatively, you can email hello@eedi.co.uk, and that actually comes through to our live chat anyway. So we'll generally get back to you within 15-20 minutes. Okay, so that's everything that I wanted to go through today, and I'll leave this bit on the board whilst I answer some questions. So I'm going to remove the topic, the document at the top of the page as well now, so you've got a couple more seconds to grab that. So I hope that's been really useful for everybody. What I'm going to do now is, anyone, if you want to, you can drop off, but I'm going to be going through some of the questions, and I'll read them openly and I'll be answering them. Okay, so having a little look. We've got somebody asked if this is recorded. Absolutely, it is recorded. And what we'll be doing is sending, similar to what I've given you at the top of the screen, we'll be sending documents out that will contain links to the different webinars that we've done. We're not going to necessarily send all of them out, but we'll send, I've done 3 mathematics mastery ones, and I'll be sending one of those out, and it'll be publicly available on YouTube for people to watch. We've got some other questions. Somebody signed up to diagnostic questions. Should they use that or eedi? Absolutely, great question. Diagnostic questions is fantastic if you want to make your own quizzes, if you want to stick a question up on the board. So it will help you kind of if you're looking to do that kind of activity. If you're looking for structure, regular quiz completions, and a much better experience for students, I'd recommend using eedi. But if you did want to set your own quiz on diagnostic questions, students can complete the quiz on eedi still. Your login details are the same. Definitely have a look around eedi, have a look at the scheme of work. If you're mathematics mastery, there's not much for you to do. And we really gives you that complete process, so you're not having to kind of manually go and add each quiz every single week. And often people forget to do the retention one if they do it manually through diagnostic questions. Looking at some other questions, I've got one to say, are the exercises designed to underpin misconceptions? Absolutely, 100%. Every question, there is a thought process and kind of the design process around the misconceptions. We look at historic data on our platform for each of the concept areas. We look at the common misconceptions, and with Mathematics Mastery and the eedi quizzes, Craig has done those, and he's been pinpointing the misconceptions behind each of the distractors. Also, what we do is we make sure that each of the questions within a quiz are covering a range of the constructs, if you would, in a particular topic. So absolutely each one is designed to unpin a set misconception. What's also worth noting around that is the quiz Bs 3 weeks later, let's say question 4 on quiz A and 4 on quiz B, the 3 distractors will uncover the same misconception between the 2 of them, but the numbers will be different in the questions to kind of give a variety for the students. Ruth said, what is the cost involved? I'm really pleased to tell you eedi is absolutely free for teachers and for students. There is a small cost for parents if parents choose to sign up. There's a free version for parents too, but there's a cost associated to it if they want the kind of full breadth of our platform, but it's totally free for students and for teachers as well. Okay, a couple more questions coming in. It's really great to see these coming in. Thank you. So they're coming in live. Can you print the questions is one we've got. We don't offer downloading quizzes and printing questions on eedi, simply because we really try and want to save teachers time. We don't want you wasting a lot of time printing and marking them. What's a great alternative instead of printing is actually to use our misconceptions tab and display a question up on the board and have a group activity talk about it. That way you're getting that live feedback about the misconceptions and you're not having to print and mark and do all the extras associated to it. And it's a fantastic activity to get the students discussing each of the misconceptions. So a quick, 1 finger for A, 2 for B, 3 for C, and 4 for D is absolutely fantastic to get the crowd, the class going. So really do give that a go instead of printing. If you are desperate to print, you can print them on diagnostic questions, but again, I really would recommend not doing it where possible. Another one, so can students complete the questions on the app? Yes, absolutely. Students complete the questions, they can write their explanations, they can access their feedback, they can access their improve section, all on the app. So that's all available for them. They can log in, on both the app and the computer if they prefer completing it on the computer, but want the notifications on the app, absolutely fine for them. They can do that. Okay, I think I've covered everybody's questions now, and they've been obviously flying in. That's been brilliant. If you do have any more questions and it's offline and I'm not available, of course, we've got that live chat here for you. We generally get back to you pretty quickly in the evenings, a little bit slower. And because it is September, we're absolutely super busy. So not always as quickly as maybe kind of towards the end of the day. 3 o'clock is generally a good time because it starts to quiet down for us a little bit. But do give us your questions and we'll be able to support you in the full setup process. There is one more question. Okay, let's have a little look. Then on diagnostic questions, you can invite students to enroll in a particular class. Can you do that on eedi? Absolutely. Go into eedi, go into your classes section, and you'll see an invitation code, and you can get them to log in. Of course, when you do that, students actually create their own account. So they choose their own username, they add their own email. So if you don't want the students to choose, we can import them for you. But of course, absolutely, you can stick a code up on the board and on eedi as well, and get students to sign up as well. But I did mention we can, of course, just import those for you if that's more useful. I hope you've all enjoyed that today and found it useful. Please just ask us questions on the live chat anytime or drop us an email. Thank you so much for joining. It's been absolutely brilliant. Goodbye.